Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today is going to be us testing out the new Haus Labs Concealer. This is called the Triclone Skin Tech Hydrating and Depuffing Concealer. This actually does not drop until September 7th and today is the 31st of August, so it won't be out for another week, but this was available for, I think, exclusive Sephora app members. So I did pick it up the one day that it was available and it just arrived yesterday. So I wanted to do a try on with you guys, my first impressions, see how it best applies. We're gonna do a full day's wear test. So that's what we're gonna get into today. So stay tuned. All right, let's talk about skin prep. So I did obviously my eyes, my eyebrows, and then I threw on foundation. I threw on my Triclone Skin Tech foundation and I have mine in the shade 110 light neutral, but I didn't powder, and I can definitely see I need some concealer. I'm looking a little crazy. I didn't throw on bronzer or blush either because I didn't want to mess with the concealer application. I have not opened my box yet. I'm going to be doing that on camera with you guys, but I want to talk about the concealer a little bit. So let me scoot over and I will throw up kind of what I'm breeding. I'm taking this from the Haus Labs website. It says that it's a clean, lightweight, long-wearing, non-comedogenic concealer that does more than cover. It visibly blurs, depuffs, brightens, and conceals with medium buildable coverage. Haus Tech powered with 20 plus skincare ingredients, including our patent pending fermented arnica. This does come in 31 different shades. It says it's introducing a smart, long-wear, clean concealer for makeup lovers made with high-tech skin-loving ingredients and flexible pigments that seamlessly adhere and adapt to the skin. This proprietary formula delivers comfortable, undetectable coverage without compromising your skin. It blurs fine lines, it brightens, and it depuffs under the eyes. It conceals redness and hyperpigmentation and leaves skin looking fresh and hydrated. It was validated by a council of celebrity makeup artists and industry experts. Okay, Haus Labs diligently identified the ideal 31 shades to meet your concealing needs. It's non-comedogenic and suitable for all skin types, including acne-prone, mature, dry, or oily skin, and available in 31 shades across 6 shade families and 4 undertones. Okay, so this is saying mature, dry, and oily skin. The shade families are deep, medium, light, and fair. The undertones that she has is rosy, which is pink or red tones, peach or orange tones, golden, yellow, or olive tones, and neutral is a balance of golden plus rosy undertones. It does have niacinamide in it, which is known to brighten and boost skin hydration. Fermented arnica, which it seems like a lot of her products have, which is supposed to help reduce redness and irritation. I do take arnica in a very dilute form, or I was taking it after my surgery, and I can tell you it reduces redness and bruising and really helps, I think, the healing process. So it's interesting that I feel like a lot of cosmetic companies are putting in arnica. At least Haus Labs stuff seems to have a lot of it. It also has a hyaluronic acid complex, which helps to plump and hydrate, Bioferment 7 complex, which protects skin from environmental stress. It is fragrance-free, clean, cruelty-free, and vegan. This also does come with a Triclone Skin Tech concealer brush. I didn't pick that up. It doesn't seem to be available either. I don't think it was available for purchase on the Sephora website. This does retail for $32. How does it already have 4 reviews? Oh, well, I guess this is people who bought it from the Sephora app. So far, it's got like 5 out of 5 stars from all 4 reviewers saying perfect concealer, awesome concealer, brightening, loved the foundation. Oh, well, that doesn't belong there. Okay, let's unbox this together. It's her standard kind of matte, off-white, kind of grayish packaging. And I picked up mine in the shade 04 Fair Neutral. Here is the component. It is plastic. It's a pretty thick plastic though. Has the H on the top. It is 7 milliliters. Let's see what this doe foot applicator looks like. Oh, it's kind of a chubby, almost like teardrop shaped pointer. This looks maybe a little bit darker than fair, but it's definitely neutral. This is kind of tricky to get the doe foot back into the applicator just a little bit. So here's the swatch. It looks a little bit deeper than the 4th shade. Let's rub this in. It has like a tack to it. It's a little bit of a stickier formula, but it feels hydrating. It looks hydrating on the skin. I am looking so dark under my under eyes right now, so this is like a perfect day to do this. So I actually want to apply it in 2 different ways. I have a clean brush here. This is the Angie Hot and Flashy A506 brush. It is a concealer brush, brand new and cleaned, and I also have a clean dampened sponge. So I want to do the concealer brush on one side and I want to do obviously the sponge on the other side. So I'm going to apply 1 layer to the left under eye, just like that. We're going to see if it builds up. Okay, my first thoughts is that it's more light coverage than it is medium right away. I'd say it's light to medium coverage, and it's also a pretty sticky formula. You can kind of see the brush kind of tugging on my skin. It has a lot of tack to it, but it blended seamlessly with the foundation, and I actually think the shade is pretty darn good and pretty darn neutral. Sometimes a lot of the companies, they'll say neutral and it'll be like a really yellow or kind of even orangey shade, or sometimes it can even lean peach or pink, and I don't think this does. But overall, pretty good for fair neutral. I definitely think we want to build it up, but I want to go into the right eye first and apply about the same amount and go in with the sponge. Okay, I think that gave me even less coverage when going with the sponge. That typically happens. So far, I actually like the way this side applies a little bit better. I don't know, I thought the brush was just a little bit more smooth. I do have more fine lines under this eye. All right, we're gonna try and build this up. I'm gonna go back into this side with the brush again. Man, I just like the way that feels with the brush so much better. It's like really smooth. I don't know why, but I'm not loving the way this is applying with the sponge on the right eye. Okay, that does look a little bit heavy. Like on my under eyes, I would normally on an everyday basis, I would stay away from building up a concealer. If I couldn't get the level of coverage out of it that I was looking for, I wouldn't build it up. I don't typically like to build up my concealers. I just kind of think it looks a little bit heavy on the under eyes when you build it up, especially on the right eye where I have more lines. And for those of you who have lines under their under eyes, that might be a concern. I kind of just want to spot conceal with this, just in a couple of spots, and I don't know, kind of see what it looks like with spot concealing. I'm just going to take this sponge and pat it out. Yeah, I kind of like it for spot concealing. I think it looks nice. I feel like the shade just looks a little bit gray. Like there's a little bit of a contrast between the foundation color and my under eyes, which I usually try and match it. I really didn't need to spot conceal too much, but I feel like it definitely added a little bit of extra coverage on like my nose mostly. Now, for reference, I do have pretty combo skin. I get drier on the outer parts of my face. I get really, really oily in the center parts of my face, especially on more humid days here in Florida, but I will naturally just get oily anyway, just even sitting inside in the air conditioning. But my under eyes, I feel like they're pretty normal. I don't think that they're dry, but I definitely have 38-year-old under eyes, and so there are lines here. So one of my biggest concerns is creasing. I always talk about that in my videos. I do not want a concealer to crease on me. If it creases, it's not worth the coverage, in my personal opinion. So I'm always looking for creasing. That's gonna be the big deciding factor on whether or not I keep that concealer in my permanent collection or whether I can recommend it to you guys. If you guys have perfect under eyes, then creasing may not be a problem for you guys, but it definitely is for me. And even on this eye where I don't have a lot of like extra lines, I still will oftentimes get creasing with more full coverage or drier concealers. I always do set my face down too. Like I always set my concealer. Usually I have to, even if it's not like a drying formula, just because of the creasing under this eye. And I usually always set my whole face. So for continuity purposes, I'm gonna go in with the Haus Labs Bio Blurring Loose Setting Powder. I have mine in the shade Translucent. And I am definitely going to set under the under eyes like I normally would. Just one light layer, and then I'm gonna set all over my face. I'm definitely worried about the buildability of this. I usually don't have a whole lot of success in buildability in concealer formulations, and even some of my favorite ones are not a super buildable formula. They usually just are really smoothing and blurring under the under eyes if I go in with like one layer, and it kind of gives me all the coverage that I need right away. I want to check in with you guys in a half an hour up here. I'm going to finish the rest of my makeup. We're going to take a look at how the concealer is sitting. I say a half an hour because that's usually my mark. Within 30 minutes after putting it on, I feel like if it's going to crease, it usually does by that point. I'm going to check in on my phone periodically throughout the day, and at the end of the day, we're going to come back and we're going to do one final check-in on the concealer, so it'll be a full day's wear test. This eye is already looking a little bit dry and a little bit creasy, so I'm a little bit nervous, but we'll be back in 30 minutes. I will be back in 30 minutes, but but I will see you guys in less than a second. Okay, I think it's been actually about an hour. I want to do one final check-in with you guys. I don't love the way that it looks. Like, the building up of the coverage looks heavy under my under eyes and it looks a little bit dry. That's really all I can say right now. I'm gonna take us out into natural light, and then when we come back, I'll show you guys clips of that. I'm definitely interested to see how it continues to wear throughout the day. Sometimes concealers that have more hydrating properties in it, they can tend to like mesh with my oils and then start looking more hydrated throughout the day. I'm kind of hoping that this does that. So far, it is not a buildable formula on my skin personally, and with my fine lines under my eyes. It definitely looks more dry under this eye where I have more lines. So like I said, I'll do the check-ins on my phone, you guys, and then we will come back here and it will be the end of the night. Right now, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'll see you guys this evening. Welcome back. It's 9 o'clock at night. It has been over 8 hours since I've had this on. I am sad to report on this particular video that my under eyes look so dry. Not only did the concealer sink into my fine lines, my under eyes just look extremely dry. And it's like emphasizing like all of my lines too. It's not just that it's sunk into them, they just look so much more pronounced. I did use the Haus Labs setting powder. I have used that before. I don't think it's an overly drying powder on my face. It's not my favorite powder either. So I definitely want to continue testing this concealer, but I can tell you right now, it's not a buildable formula. And even though it was pretty tacky, I didn't find it overly hydrated. And I have to remember that just because concealers have a ton of claims, they pretty much all do. And not all of them work for me or my skin type. And that's always going to be true for everybody. Again, I don't have extremely dry under eyes. I don't have under eyes that can usually handle a more full coverage. Maybe drier formula concealer, if that helps, even though they're not necessarily drier under eyes. I don't like the way it looks. Like on first application, I'm just not happy with the way my under eyes looks. I'm telling you guys, it looks so dry under here. And honestly, like it was starting to kind of hill up under this eye, like separate. I am a fan of the foundation, but it is not one of my favorite foundations. I think a lot of it has kind of come off. I don't think that this really smooths my skin either. Like, it's not an overly dewy product by any means, but I just don't feel like, you know, it kind of hides some of the texture on my skin. I think it's an okay foundation overall. I know it's pretty hyped and that might be a hot take, but that's just how it works personally on my skin. My face just is not looking so great right now. Even the foundation, after it's kind of worn off, like it definitely seems to have separated kind of like right here. Same thing with the concealer. Just overall, I'm not a huge fan upon first impressions and upon my first 1-day wear test. I have to tell you, coming up here and doing these, it's pretty difficult because there's so many different ways to test a concealer. You can test it with different powders. You can go in with a single layer, prime a little bit better, and you can make a concealer work. But the best concealers that I have in my collection do not matter what I use them with. The only difference that they seem to make is whether or not I'm able to build them or not build them. This one just isn't perfecting on the under eyes for me, unfortunately. It may work for you, but if you guys have a similar skin type and you try and build this, I just don't think it's a buildable formula. And I don't think it's overly long wearing either. I wouldn't say that this is like really held up. Again, I told you it kind of was like separating under that eye, so that's really my final review. I will continue testing it in different ways and put it in a future speed reviews video, but upon first impressions and my 1-day wear test, I don't know if this concealer is going to work for me overall, but I do hope that you guys found this video helpful. I am out of here for this evening, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Bye guys.